There are schools in the SEC that believe in late night efforts. You have to do stuff that's out of my comfort zone. That was Hugh Freeze, Auburn coach, after Georgia pulled in KJ Bolden. What we don't know is if he was talking about KJ Bolden. We don't know if he was talking about Georgia. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is a shocking sentence to me for any college football coach. But let me repeat this one more time. You have to do stuff that's out of my comfort zone. That was a direct quote from Auburn coach, former Ole Miss coach, Hugh Freeze. Again, Hugh Freeze saying, you have to do stuff that's out of my comfort zone. And I'm going to say what a lot of people will not say. If you're getting out of Hugh Freeze's comfort zone, that's some serious business right there, because I don't think I need to review Hugh Freeze's career vita, but it's an aggressive one. So let's talk about this just a little bit. You've made it to YouTube on Christmas. Must be in-law Christmas. That's where we're at right now with things. Hey, listen, we've entered a new, world of college football recruiting. It is a new world. And there's nothing, it's what it is. I was going to say there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, we have to acknowledge what's going on, which is the paradigm has shifted. There are going to be some coaches, and I don't really mean Hugh here, but there's going to be folks who are uncomfortable with the shifting nature of college football. I just want to say college football has changed for a long time, okay? Now, it's changing more right now in these last, say, 3 years, than it ever has. You've had COVID. Well, you've had, first of all, in 2020, you had, Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, which has set off all sorts of insanity with Florida State, UCLA, SC, the ACC fighting Florida State, Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, the four schools from the Pac-12 going to the Big Ten, destroying the Pac-12. There's been a lot of change just on that front. You've had new television contracts negotiated. You've got the start of the SEC on Disney. You've got NIL. You've got the ability for, and this can, this is something the NCAA can change, the transfer portal. I don't know which bothers people more, but they're both going to be a part of this world of college football from here on out. It's just what it is. But some coaches are not going to adapt to that in a way that makes them comfortable, and which is literally what Hugh said. He said, you have to do stuff that's out of my comfort zone. I mean, that is a heck of a statement. That is a heck of a statement. But I don't know if he was talking about what it took to get KJ Bolden. I thought there needs to be a rewind here. I thought if Florida State was going to lose KJ Bolden, that it would be to Auburn. I thought that about 7-ish days before signing day. I didn't think he was going to go to Florida State, okay, generally speaking. But it seemed like he was going to head to Auburn. Well, in the last weekend or so of the recruiting season, here comes Georgia, guns a-blazing, and they sign him. So I didn't see the whole press conference. I saw the clip about this quote. But I don't know why losing KJ Bolden to Georgia is any different than Georgia losing Dylan Raiola to Nebraska. I mean, they're same. I mean, it's the same thing. They're both 5-star recruits. One is a quarterback, so that you could argue he's more important. But I think we've got to get past all this stuff. Hey, I'm in the mountains right now. Our friends at EcoPoly make some awesome gear for you to sit in. Not gear, but furniture. Check the link out down below. In the furniture in this part of Georgia, you'd go with greens and browns kind of, or you can, spice it up a little bit. If you're in lake country, which can often be mountain country, but not necessarily, there's so many options for you to customize what you want from our friends at EcoPoly. The link is down below. I'm wishing you a Merry Christmas. I'm sure they would be wishing you a Merry Christmas. 20-year warranty on all of those products. I mean, y'all, that's the real deal there. But for Auburn, Auburn's the problem for Auburn, and I understand it, is they are caught between the two powers, really, of college football, but certainly of the SEC. And, Auburn in its heyday was rolling with Pat Dye and, if there was a dirtier program in the SEC at that time, I don't know who it was. In the South, probably Clemson at that time. But that's when Clemson and Auburn had a lot of success in the 80s, was they were cheating. So it is always curious to hear, it is always curious. First of all, it's curious for any college football coach ever, period, point blank, any of them, to ever complain about another program and doing whatever it takes or whatever colloquial word they want to use. That is hilarious to me as a person who's been around the league for a long time, as a person who knows a few dead bodies buried in recruiting. I mean, really, like, no one should complain ever because they all know what they do and have done, okay? But it is curious to hear I get the hurt feelings. I do. But hey, if you're not ready to ball out, then you're not going to win. I mean, it's Georgia folks shouldn't be so, and I'm not suggesting they are, shouldn't be so pious that what other schools are doing or are not doing. We don't know what's going on out there, and I can assure you, you don't want to know. Is probably my take on it. But it's a different world than it was in the past. I think people would like to know in many ways. I mean, why did KJ Bolden sign with Georgia? It was clearly about money. There's been some reporting that he took less money because he wanted to go to Georgia. I don't know what reality is on that. That is not the way it was described to me, but that's okay. That may be true. So at this stage, this is all about public relations for how much guys are getting paid for signing with schools. There's different ways to do different things. It's just, if Georgia, how do you do this? How do you put it? It would be like Georgia complaining about injuries against Alabama in the loss in the SEC championship in 23, because that's all we heard about in 21 was the reason Georgia beat Alabama by 15. The only reason was because the wide receivers were hurt. I mean, no, they just beat them. That's it. Alabama just beat Georgia in 23. Georgia just beat Bama in 21. So it's just what it is. So the ridiculousness of all of this is rich for me. Now, it is Christmas. Maybe people are eating too many sweets. I don't know. But I think everybody in the league is going to have situations where they get outbid. A kid wants to go somewhere else, not necessarily because of money. I mean, all of these schools, y'all, are offering about the same money. I mean, it's not like Alabama can get so far out in front of Georgia or LSU or whoever. I mean, in rare instances, but not with 25 guys signed. I mean, Georgia signed 28 guys. They brought in 4 guys in the transfer portal. That's a third. That's more than a third of their roster that's turned over. I mean, everybody's bringing in a significant amount of people. So this is not only about NIL deals. NIL deals now are just, do you want to have fries with that? And the answer is yeah. Well, do you want to supersize them? And people are making it seem like, oh, that's the only person getting fries. No, everybody's getting fries. I mean, it's just kind of, do you want them, extra salted? You want an animal style, whatever. So I am past the complaining, and I very rarely am about the complaining, but I am past the complaining. I mean, this is silly, but this quote is just for any college coach. I mean, if Jim Harbaugh had said this, people would have been dying laughing. You have to do stuff that's out of your comfort zone. I mean, y'all, what do we read about at all times with all these schools? It is insane that these coaches think that we're just completely naive with some of these statements. These things should be put into context. But the problem with that is you cannot put into context. Discussing a recruit that signed with another school. So that's the challenging part. If you're, from what I'm saying, I want it to be this way. And it sounds good when I'm saying it to you, but we all have to recognize that the coaches can't say it. So they have to be, it would be against bylaws of the NCAA. So they have to be cryptic. In my take, the schools in the SEC, the schools in the NCAA, the Power 4 schools, they need to decide, hey, this is what we're doing, as it relates to transfer portal And you know, can we figure out how to regulate NIL? Because it doesn't look like they are going to be able to anytime soon. Then if we can't, then it's just going to be what it's always been. One question could be, you know, in terms of regulatory things from the NCAA is how are you dealing with collectives? So that's another kind of world. But all of this is just rich sometimes for me, and it just cracks me up. But anyway, Merry Christmas. We'll see you on the next video.